Ever fire off an email and then, bam, you realize you left out something super important?
Oh, tell me about it. Happens to the best of us. Or how about this? You're reading an article, maybe something for work even, and something just feels off. Like,
It's just not adding up.
exactly, like, are they sure about that?
It turns out getting that balance of accuracy and completeness, it's a real art.
It really is.
And luckily for us, it's something we can actually get better at. That's what we're digging into today.
I'm excited to dive in.
We've got a great piece to work with, a recent article on LinkedIn by Curt Robbins. He's a veteran technical writer, been doing this for years.
Okay.
And he calls his approach the accurate and complete rule,
Oh,
which I love because it gets right to the point.
straightforward and practical.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Even though he comes from the world of, tech manuals and software instructions,
Right.
his advice, it applies way beyond that.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, we've all had those moments, right?
Yeah.
Like you're writing a report at work or even just trying to get your point across in a text.
Oh, especially those important texts, you know?
Yes. And you need to make sure every single detail is, one, correct, and two, that you're not leaving anything out.
And that's the thing that Robbins really drives home, right? It's not enough to just want our writing to be accurate and complete. We actually need systems in place. It's like we all want to be good communicators, but that doesn't just happen automatically.
It's like anything else. You don't just magically become a great chef overnight. There's practice, there's technique.
It's a skill.
Exactly. And what I love about Robbins' approach is that he breaks it down into these actionable strategies.
I like that because often we know what we should be doing, but having those concrete steps makes all the difference.
Totally. It reminds me of this presentation I was putting together a while back. I was so focused on making the slides look amazing.
The design, all that.
Oh, yeah, I went all out, but I totally messed up the numbers.
Oh, no.
I know. I was lucky enough to have a colleague, glance at it before I hit send, and she caught it.
That's a lifesaver right there.
It was a close call.
Yeah.
But it's a perfect example of what Robbins is talking about. He says we need to have this fluid interface with what he calls a subject matter expert, an SME.
Ah, the SME. So even if we're not, technical writers in the traditional sense, we all have our own go-to people. Like, I don't know anything about cars.
Right.
So when something goes wrong, which, let's be honest, is more often than it should, I have to call my brother-in-law, he is a lifesaver.
It's so true. And Robbins, he takes that idea even further. He's not just saying, find your SME and you're good. He's talking about building that relationship where you're getting feedback throughout the process.
Regular check-ins, bouncing ideas, making sure you're on the right track.
It's like having that built-in accuracy check. Like you said, bouncing ideas, getting that feedback early on.
Huge difference. And that actually leads right into Robbins' next strategy, which is all about getting feedback from outside editors.
Okay, so not just the SME, but bringing in someone else.
Fresh eyes.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's a game changer. I had this experience. I was working on this proposal, and honestly, I thought it was amazing.
You were nailed it.
I was so proud of this thing. I had read it so many times. I mean, practically memorized it.
Okay, yeah, I've been there. And then...
So I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to hand it off to a colleague just for a quick once-over.
So to be sure.
And you know what? She came back with a whole page of notes. I'm not going to lie, I was a little
A little defense.
maybe just a tad. But then we sat down and we actually talked through her feedback. And I realized she had caught some things, some inconsistencies. My logic wasn't as clear as I thought it was in a couple places.
Wow, okay. So she really helped you tighten it up.
Big time. And it really drove home for me the value of that outside perspective.
100%. It's
Okay.
so easy to get stuck in our own little bubble.
Tunnel vision. And Robbins, he has this line in his article that I think about all the time now. He says, just a few hours with a skilled editor can provide stunningly effective feedback.
Stunningly effective. Okay, that is going on a t-shirt. I love that.
Right.
It's true though, right? Because a good editor can catch those hidden typos. That awkward phrasing that you didn't even realize.
The stuff that you miss because you've been staring at it for too long.
Yes, totally. Okay, so we've got our SMEs, our trusted editors, and now I feel like we need to bring in the big guns. Robbins' third strategy,
Yeah.
artificial intelligence. It's everywhere these days. But how are people actually using it to improve their writing?
So it's changing so fast. I mean, we're already seeing AI go way beyond just basic grammar and spell check, right?
Yeah.
There are tools now that can analyze your writing for clarity, conciseness, even potential biases, which is wild.
Wow. It's like having that super-powered editor available 24/7.
Exactly. But And I think this is super important. AI is a tool.
Right.
It's not a replacement for us.
Right, right. It can't think for us.
Exactly. We have to use these technologies, carefully, strategically, because they have limitations, but also amazing strengths.
So it's like having this whole team working for you.
Yeah.
Your go-to experts, those eagle-eyed editors, and now AI.
I love that analogy. And the best part is it doesn't matter if you're, writing some high-level technical document or even just an email.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's funny how we often think about accuracy being like mission critical in certain fields. Like you mentioned technical documents earlier. I immediately thought of like medical prescriptions,
Okay.
legal contracts,
Oh, yeah, the high-stakes stuff.
where, one little mistake could have huge consequences.
Absolutely. But honestly, even in our everyday communication, even in just a casual conversation, getting it right matters.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a world without accurate maps?
Oh, don't even get me started. I'd be constantly lost.
Or what if the instructions for, like, putting together that new gadget you got were just riddled with errors?
The worst, I swear, some of those instruction manuals are like reading another language.
It's like they want to make it a puzzle. But what I appreciate about Robbins, about his approach, is he's giving us those tools. It's not about being perfect. It's about, like you said at the beginning, having systems in place.
Having a process.
Right. So that you're not just hoping for the best.
And I think that's what resonated with me the most. He uses this phrase. He says, we need to move beyond just wanting accuracy to actually engineering accuracy into our work.
Engineering accuracy. Ooh, I like that.
Right.
It's intentional.
It's deliberate. It's not something that just happens. You have to build it in from the ground up.
Love that. But, and I'm sure I'm not alone here, sometimes that means admitting that you don't have all the answers. Like actually asking for help.
100%. Which, it can be tough. It's easy to get attached to our own work. And then when someone comes in with suggestions, it's like, ooh.
It's personal.
Right. But learning to see that feedback as a gift, like you said, another set of eyes, it's invaluable.
So as we kind of wrap up here, what's that one thing, that one takeaway that you really hope our listeners walk away with today?
For me, it's the power of building in those feedback loops.
Yeah.
Whatever you're working on, a report, a presentation, even just having an important conversation, take that moment to pause and ask yourself, how can I make this both accurate and complete? It makes a world of difference.
It's like that final check in the mirror before you head out the door. Like, okay, I think we're good to go.
Exactly. And who knows, you might just get some of that stunningly effective feedback along the way.
I love it. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Remember, everyone, communication, it's a process, always room for improvement. Keep those SMEs close, find those amazing editors, and hey, don't be afraid to see what AI can do for you.